Hello YouTube. Before we get started, I just want to say, originally I wasn't sure whether I should make a video about this because the details of the case are very sad, and I just want to make it clear that I'm not making fun of the guy. But because the case involves a Moorish guy, sovereign citizen, and it involves Carl Lentz, who I've been covering for a while, I think it justifies making a video about the details of the case. But I just want to add that disclaimer at the beginning. Okay, so the name of this case is Antoine L. Burris-L v. John Bourne et al. Now, John Bourne is the director of Ohio Department of Public Safety, and all the other people that he sued worked for the state of Ohio in some capacity. He also sued the governor of Ohio, John Kasich, Thomas Lips, which was the county court judge, basically a bunch of other people. Now, the -L suffix he adds to his last name indicates that he's a Moorish sovereign citizen. Now, as the case explains, Antoine filed a complaint against officials at the Ohio Department of Public Safety, Ohio Bureau of Motor Vehicles, etc. And interestingly, it's a Carl Lentz-style claim, which reads, quote, I, a man, claim deprivation of inalienable rights. It's misspelled there. Forgery, in brackets, against me, my person, and my property by ODPS John Bourne, OBMV Donald Petit, also referred to as wrongdoers in his said court case. 2, no law exists that binds I to the wrongdoers. 2, the causal agents of the deprivation forgery comes by way of its use of commercial contractual instruments. The deprivation of IR forgery did and does harm to me and injury on my person and my property. The commencement of the wrong and harm began in April 2001. I require delivery of all said property be under my jurisdiction no later than February 15, 2018. I require compensation for the initial and continual deprivation of IR. Don't know what IR is upon my person and my property. I have placed a charge of $1.5 million for the wrongdoers, $250,000 per wrongdoer, $250,000 per pecuniary damages, $250,000 per mental anguish. The wrong and harm continues, and failure in restoration of property to this day, January 30th, 2018. I say here and will verify in open court that all herein be true. 11, Ohio Supreme Court, Traffic Rule 13, Section B, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, laws having authority over OR codes. Now, the reference to Ohio traffic laws may make you think that this is a right to travel, driving without a license case. Fortunately, it's a lot uglier than that. In 1996, Antoine, the father of 2 minor children, was ordered to pay child support for one of the children, beginning in 1996. He failed to keep up with the child support payments and was found to be in arrears by several $1,000s. This is where it gets sad. Tragically, in April 2001, the children were murdered by their mother, Bridget Stovall. Prior to their deaths, Ms. Stovall was receiving public assistance. As such, she assigned any support money she received to the Ohio Department of Human Services and Hamilton County Department of Human Services. After the death of the children, plaintiff contends that Child Support Enforcement Office, the Juvenile Court, Jobs and Family Services enforced unconstitutional agreements to collect unconstitutional debts and sanctions based on his failure to pay child support. Plaintiff also contends that the Ohio Bureau of Motor Vehicles violated his constitutional rights by suspending his driver's license based upon his unpaid child support. Plaintiff further contends that the state of Ohio intentionally violated his rights as a father. So, just to reiterate that, after his children were killed, The state still asked him to pay child support, and in addition to that, canceled his driver's license because of unpaid child support, even though the children had been murdered. As a relief, plaintiff seeks a fair and unbiased trial, redress of law, and restitution for being violated, and redemption for all my economic losses and hardships. Plaintiff also seeks an order from the court requiring the state of Ohio to pay for all his psychiatric needs for the intentional emotional distress he encountered, and to develop a facility in his children's names. Last, plaintiff asked for an order naming the corner block of 3100 Woodbourne Avenue after his children. Antoine's case was dismissed, and the court gave the reasons for the dismissal. First, plaintiff has not stated a viable Section 1983 claim against any of the state entities, namely the state of Ohio, etc. The 11th Amendment prohibits a citizen of a state from suing that state or one of its agencies in federal court unless the state consents to such suit or there is an express statutory waiver of immunity. The state of Ohio has not constitutionally or statutorily waived its 11th Amendment immunity in the federal courts, and Congress has not explicitly and by clear language expressed its intent to abrogate the 11th Amendment immunity of the states in enacting Section 1983. In addition, a state court is not a person for the purposes of Section 42, 1983, and hence is not subject to lawsuit under that statute. Court continues, the Ohio Bureau of Motor Vehicles qualifies as a state agency, meaning it cannot be sued by a citizen of its own or another state. ODJFS is entitled to 11th Amendment immunity because it is a state agency. The Ohio Department of Mental Health is a state agency over whom this court, by operation of the amendment, 11th Amendment, lacks jurisdiction. Similarly, Hamilton County Juvenile Court itself is an arm of the state, therefore entitled to sovereign immunity under the 11th Amendment. This court has also found that HCDJS is an arm of the state entitled to sovereign immunity for purposes of the activities implicated on this action. So to summarize, every single agency that he sued has sovereign immunity, so he can't sue them. Moving on, more importantly, plaintiff's complaint pertains primarily to domestic relations issues, which are within the exclusive jurisdiction of the states and falls outside the scope of federal jurisdiction. In general, Ohio juvenile courts retain exclusive jurisdiction over matters involving child custody and support. More than a century ago, the United States Supreme Court proclaimed that the whole subject of the domestic relations of husband and wife, parent and child, belong to the laws of the state and not to the laws of the United States. Thus, under the Brewer's abstention doctrine, federal courts have universally declined to exercise jurisdiction in domestic relations cases in which a complaint contains only conclusory assertions that a plaintiff is entitled to relief because of state's constitutional violations, where those assertions are mere pretense and the suit is actually concerned with domestic relations issues. In short, this court lacks subject matter jurisdiction over plaintiff's claims because they fall exclusively within the jurisdiction of state courts. So I'm basically saying that a federal court can't deal with a state case. You basically file a state case in a federal court. He also filed cases in state court, and those were also dismissed. The court explained, quote, "This court has reviewed Burris L's amended complaint, the appellee's motion, Burris L responses, the transcript of the hearing before the court below, and the briefs filed in this case. It is clear that Burris L suffered an unspeakable loss when his daughter was murdered, a loss that was exacerbated by protracted litigation over whether he would be required to pay child support to the woman who had killed her. But his amended complaint was properly dismissed by the trial court. We overrule Burris L's sole assignment of error and affirm the judgment of the trial court. Now, not being a lawyer, I don't know whether or not he was entitled or had there was any chance of him getting any compensation. But obviously, by relying on sovereign citizen / Moorish strategies in court, he guarantees a negative outcome to whatever he's trying to do. And of course, there's always going to be people that will try to sell stuff to people like him who are extremely desperate. And well, I mean, if you're in that kind of situation, you're not going to be thinking straight. And there's always going to be opportunists trying to make a quick buck off somebody like him. So yeah, not a bit of a bummer, a bit of a sad story.